This is the handle that it comes with. It's quite, well, foregrip. It's quite cheap, to be honest. It's easy to attach. You literally just slide it on to where you want and then tighten up with the bottom. And the jobs are good and nice and secure. That's the front end, and this is the detachable silencer it comes with, which you can just slide on. It's got a bit of a spring in it, just push it nice and forward, and clip it in, and then it's nice and secure. That ain't going anywhere. Take it off. You literally just push these both up like that, and it just detaches again. So at the back you have your battery compartment, which is easy to remove. Just pop it off, and there is your wire. Obviously it's a small Tamiya connector, so let's just grab one of the batteries. There we go. Put it on semi, and then not very loud, quite quiet, that's alright. Now with most of my guns I like to take them apart and have a look inside. So we're going to remove this screw and this screw, just a flathead screwdriver. That should be okay for removing them. So let's grab them. And then that one is quite weird, it doesn't quite fit in for some reason. There we go, change screwdriver to the iFixit ones. These are really good screwdrivers. Let's loosen that one up. That's coming up nice and easy now. So let's remove them too. That's quite a long one. And this should be removed for safety. And then the back butt comes completely off. And we've left with it, which is obviously wire which goes into there, the rear. You've got a rear plate there. I'll take that off just so I don't lose it. Alright, so what would be next would be to remove the upper receiver. There's a screw here which might hold it in place. Obviously I've never touched this gun part before, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing. So Allen key connection there, one there as well. A few pins look like it, they hold it in place as well for your mags to catch. Flip it back over again. Yeah, so I'll give it a shot with these two now. So on this side it's a 3mm Allen key connector, and obviously this side here is just flathead. Bloody hell. This is tight. There we go. So obviously just turn one side of it. That pin should now come out. All that is tight again. Let's see if I can push it out. Not really. So let's just put that there. So once again it's a 3mm Allen key. And once again on the other side it's a stupidly thin screw, so switch screwdrivers, that's better, and let's just undo this one. So now that one's empty, and so is this one. So with this bottom one here, what I've realised is if I get a Allen key and push it through into the hole, just push it a little bit of pressure, it actually moves. So on this side I can pull it out. There we go, that one's out. And it looked like it moved, so aha, success. So I can remove the upper receiver, well, lower receiver, sorry, and that comes out, which now means this one's still in place, which is holding it in. There's one here, and there'll be this one. Yeah, so that's just unscrewing. There we go. Put that somewhere secure so you remember which bit's which. That, and then that bit should slide out. Yep, put that with the bit so you remember what's what. Just put a little bit of pressure. Pop, that's popped. Some needle nose pliers. Just pull that pin out. Put it somewhere secure so you remember what's what. I'll take the motor out next and have a look at that. So I memorise how many turns I do on this top screw, so I know where to put it back in. So if we grab this, let's see if I can get this through. Put this down here. So 1, 2, 3 and a bit. 3 and a little bit should put it back to where it was. And then it's also got 2 screws holding it in place. They look a lot bigger than the one I'm just using, so quickly change this up. And then let's just get the screws removed. That's a bit too small still, so one size up. That's better. So let's get them out. There's one. 2. That should now just slide out. Put obviously all your parts together so you don't forget where they are. And then we should see the motor. It's got wires on. So let's just pop them off. So once again, just give a little bit of a wiggle, not too much because you don't want to rip or snap the metal off the end of them, which I've done before on a different gun. Oh man, that one's tight. It's been a bit. And there we go. That one's been removed. And theoretically the motor should just slide out, but most often than not, it doesn't just slide out. As you can see, it's not just popping out, it's quite stuck in there. I've managed to get the motor out. As you can see, there's 2 screws at the bottom which need to remove next. To remove the grip, the handle grip, pistol grip, whatever you want to name it. This is the motor that was in it, a Titan, AK Titan super high torque motor. I've not really heard much about these motors to be honest, so I'm not sure how good they are. But it's an high torque one. To remove it, I had to use these. You just literally put them underneath here a little bit of pressure, and then prise it out. That's what it takes. I'm not going to be able to film removing this bit because it's going to be quite awkward, so I'll remove it and then I'll get... Right, I've unscrewed the 2 screws. Now this bit should come off. So just put a bit of pressure on it. I'll have to do it this way so we can see. So it is quite tight. Oh god, it's really tight. Just a bit of wiggle. And there we go. That's off now. And then just obviously pull the wire through the holes at the top. There's one. And there's 2. So that's the handle. Put that up here with the rest of the tool. I lay them out like this so I know which way each bit's going. Bit goes. Just dawning on me, I'm not sure what the barrel's like and the up unit. That's quite loose. That'll come out nice and easy. So it's a metal up unit. Bit rough construction. Brass barrel. Yeah, not too bad. Obviously in the future I will upgrade this. Put in a 6.03 type bore barrel. There we go, that's back in place. That's alright. That's all good. So, I've got that bit out. So there is that bit that's holding it in place. I believe that's the last bit. Because that's just a bit. Yeah. Right, I have managed to get it out. What I did was I grabbed a bigger Allen key, put it in, and then I put a lot of pressure on, like that. It pushes straight through, catch the screws out, and obviously now the gearbox. One second, let me just put this back so I know which one's which. The gearbox should slide out. The gearbox, bit not the best constructed gearbox. Just I think it looks a bit naff, to be honest. But there we go. Right. Next, I'm going to try and open the gearbox up and show you what it's like inside.
Right, so here we have the gearbox. As you can see, it's a standard V2 gearbox. So first things first, get an Allen key, quite a big one, and just put it in the back of the spring guide. This is gonna help me keep the spring in place when I remove the top. So just start removing the screws. Keep them in all together in a nice line so we know where they all are. Make sure it's unscrewed. There we go. Next one. Nope. Sometimes they do stick, so just make sure they're fully unscrewed and then try to remove them. Got this one in, having it. Just one more. It just needs a bit of pressure. There we go. Get them all nice and neat so they don't roll away. Next one. There we go. Oh no. And there we go. That one's out. Now we've got the rest to do. There's 4 more left in there. These are the longer ones. They do take a little bit more to unscrew. Just remove them one at a time and keep them all nice and neat together. When we've unscrewed all these, the next step is opening the gearbox up by prying it. Prying it open. This can be difficult. Sometimes it won't have it, so I tend to use a flathead screwdriver if I can't do it by hand. Just get this one out. And this one. This is the last screw holding it in place. Right, once I've unscrewed this, I'm going to put a bit of pressure back on the Allen key to keep the spring in place. I'm going to try and pry it open. So a bit of pressure. Try and pry it. Nope. No, that's quite stiff. That's not having it. So get a screwdriver, flathead one, and just put in a little bit of the holes. Obviously, you don't want to move anything inside, so just be careful when doing it, and just put a little bit of pressure on. Just start turning it slowly, just so it pops up. There we go. That should be enough. So pressure back on spring guide, and pop it. Ooh, there we go. I had some pop, so a gear's moved yet. Yeah, a gear has popped. Trigger's still alright though. Right, there we go. The gears have just moved slightly. Not too bad. Greasy. So let's. Brushing's a bit shoddy, but they'll do the job, I imagine. Right, so remove the spring gear, sorry, and put the shim down. Anti-reversal latch is popped out like usual. That normally happens when you open them up. Let's release the spring because it's putting a lot of tension on it. There we go. So when you buy this gun, it says you get an M130 spring, but as you can see, this is more like an M90, M100. It's flimsy. It's not very torque. Yeah. See, this is an I believe this is an M120 spring. It's more stiff. It's longer. And then this one should be my M130 one, I believe. Yeah. There's a lot more. It's a lot harder to bend that one. It's longer. Yeah. Better quality. I think I'm going to end up putting this one in, to be honest. Checking everything's right. It's really greasy in this gearbox. It's already all over my hands. On the gears, it's everywhere. So I'm going to have to give this a clean once I've took it all apart. Remove the gears. Right, let's take the piston out and cylinder. So I'm going to need my nose pliers to remove the tappet plate spring. There we go. And then that should come out. Careful of the spring. There we go. Let's look at the piston. Mushroom type piston head. That should make it silent. Got the back teeth removed, so it should a better angle of engagement on that. There's the air nozzle. It's longer than usual, so if you do replace it, keep that in mind. The spring's fallen in. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Let's keep all that together so I know what that is. Take another gear out. There's all gears out. They could do with a wash. There's anti-reversal latch. That's going to need a good clean. I don't think that's a good one. I'm going to replace that. It looks a bit crap for my liking. So let's get the trigger contacts. We're going to release the spring on the trigger. One for the contacts. And we'll remove the safety. Trigger safety. So let's unscrew that. And remove the top arm. The spring as well, so keep that together. A bit stiff, so give it a bit of force. There we go. With the spring. Pull the back arm out. There we go. Is that done? Now the trigger, a little bit of pressure, wiggle it. Just wiggle a little bit. There we go. Keep the spring with it. One of the bushings have popped out. Bushings, I never know what they're called, to be honest. Yeah, they're quite stiff, but I am going to have to remove them because I'm going to have to give it a wash later because it needs a good clean out. Give it a pop with an Allen key, see if it works. No, that's not coming out, so I'll leave that for time being. Shims are everywhere. I'm going to try and remove the shims. They are covered in grease, they're very sticky. I put them underneath the gear so I remember which gear it came from and which end it goes on. One goes there. Right. Move you out of the way. I'm going to remove the gear selector latch, I think it's called. I'm not sure. Oh wait, it's stuck. Yeah, it'll be stuck because I haven't removed the trigger contact. So let's remove the trigger contact. So we'll unscrew this one. And we'll put a bit of pressure from behind just to pop it out. There we go. That's the screw. Put that somewhere safe. Turn it over. Ready? Oh, there we go. Gear selector. It's fallen out, so put that with that. Right. Oh, there we go. Tappet plates popped out. And the gear with a little bit of pressure popped out from the other side. Oh, tappet plate spring. Put that with that. Keep that safe. Don't want to lose that. We need that. And there we go. That's the trigger all removed. Trigger contacts all removed. Put that somewhere safe. Right. Now to remove the brushings. It's not really working. Right, let's try on this one. Flip it over. No shims. Yeah, I can't seem to put pressure on my finger to pop them out, so I'm gonna have to use Probably an Allen key. Get the Allen key in with a little bit of pressure, not too much, because you don't want to damage them. Just push it around the edges until they pop out. Oh, there we go. That's one. And just the same again with all the others. There we go. That's working. Then on to the next one. Just a bit of pressure, not too much. Don't want to damage them. Right. These gearboxes, gears, and some of the metal parts and piston are just covered in grease, so I am going to have to wash them. I can't leave them covered in this crappy grease. So the next part is I'm just going to give it a good wash. Should just make it better. And then I'll re-grease it all up later myself, but properly. And that's it for this one then. Moving on. Next step is to shimmy the gearbox. As you can see, the bushings are back in place. And make sure they're all nice and tight. Right, so the first step is I use this gear, which I cannot remember the name for, to be honest. And I just put one shim on. So put one shim on it and put it in place. There we go. Put pressure on the top and just move it around and see if you feel it grating. Well, feel any grating or if you can hear it. But to be honest, that sounds fine. Double check. Yeah. No grating, it's moving nice. Right, so then I move on to this gear. There's two copper ones already on, which should be enough, so put it in place and start moving it. See if you can hear any metal grating. If you lift it up to your eye level, you can see a shadow underneath. You should be able to see just a little bit of a gap between them. That's what you want. That's fine. Same again with the bottom one. So make sure there's two copper ones on to match the other one. There we go. Put them in place. There we go, that's alright. Same again, pressure on top to spin it. See if you can hear any grinding. Nope, everything's moving. Once again, bring it to eye level. See if you can see a little bit of a gap, because that's what you want. Yeah, that's perfect. Now, just put some on top. I'm going to put two on each, just because these copper ones are really thin. And I don't want it to grate in the metal, so 2 to me sounds like a good number. To be honest, it does take a while to shim gearbox. It's just trial and error, you got to keep trying. So close the gearbox up. There we go. Put some pressure on, spin it. Oh, that's spinning nicely. You want it to spin a few times when you're doing that. Yeah, that's good. That'll be fine. Open it back up and then put your shims back where they belong, just so you know you don't get confused later and you have to re-shimmy it. There's that. Right, so now take them back out, put each gear down on the table, and then I put the shims above and below, so I know what shims which go where for per gear. But to be honest, I remember as well. But it's just good practice to put your gears down and your shims above and below it, so you know later on which one's which, and you don't have to re-shim it all, because there's nothing worse than having to re-shim a gearbox after you've just done it all. So, like so. A bit stuck, that's tight, let's get that off. And then the last one. The reason I'm taking them all back out is because I ain't greased them yet. I need to actually grease everything up and make sure it's all ready. Right, now we need to re-grease the gearbox. To do this, we're going to need some earbuds, white grease, silicone oil, and silicone grease. Now you have different greases for different things. I use the white grease. I use a silicone grease, sorry, for the bits that plastic's going to be on. So where the piston moves, I like to put some white grease in there, like so. Make sure there's a nice amount of it. Yeah, you want it to be able to slide nice and easy. There we go. That's cooking good. It's the same again with the top, well, the other half. Same again. Just make sure it's all nice and greased. Like so. Piston head, because it's plastic at top and plastic on the body, put some way it's going to slide as well. Careful not to get any cotton on, because these do fall apart. If you do get any cotton anywhere, just pull it off. So let's put some on there. Switch ends because it's getting a bit bad. Put some around here. Quite a nice L-pin on top of the piston, because that'll create a better air seal. Because this is obviously what creates the air pressure that shoots out of the BB, so make sure it's nice and tight. So let's some cotton, let's pull that off. So as you're going along, you see any cotton that's come off, just remove it. Not good for the gearbox really, so just try to remove any you get. Like so. There we go. So let's put that down somewhere. Go to that. Put that down there. Sorry. Next step is the gear grease I use for gears. So that's going to be contact with thingy, so just put a bit on there. Not too much, just enough. So once again, be careful of cotton getting on it. I do like the fact that it's got that tooth missing. That's a nice feature. Means it's got a bit of angle of engagement. You don't. Some pistons already will have a tooth in there. It is better if you remove it. Let's grease the gears up. Make sure they're nice and greasy. Obviously, don't go mental. Just enough, just to stop them rubbing together and wearing away. Just better. It just makes it an healthier gearbox in the long run. So grease it up. Just trying to make sure the teeth are covered. Because they're what are going to be obviously grating against each other. Just want to make sure they're nice and greasy. And obviously do it on the next gear. Just work your way through the gears, doing it one by one. Oh, shim. Put that down. There we go. Grease it. Make sure your table you're using is clean as well. Obviously when you're putting grease on it, if there's any dirt and grub on your table, it's going to pick it up and put it on. I tend to wipe my tabletop before I start work and everything. Let's just make sure it's nice and greasy. Yeah, just tap it into the teeth. That's the best way, really. There we go. And then same again with the last gear. Make sure it's got plenty on. Dab it around the teeth. The reason I don't rub it into the teeth with these cotton buds is because obviously it's gonna, the cotton's just gonna get stuck in it and tear away, and I'm going to have to clean them all up, so just dab it on. There we go, that's looking good. Right. There's a bit more. Just where the anti-reversal latch goes, just put, which one is it on this one? Line it up. That one, yeah. Just put a bit on there, just so to help that. Then I put a little bit more where the tappet plate moves, just to stop it jamming. Not much, just a little bit. There we go. That's looking all right. Right, just put a little bit of silicone oil on the air nozzle. This will just make it easy for it to slide. Not much, just a tiny bit, because obviously you don't want it getting elsewhere in the gun. There we go. Yep, that's got a nice action to it. It's easy to slide. Yeah, that should be fine. Then put piston back in. If you put your finger on the end and then push the thing, you can feel the air pressure. Seems to be pushing the cylinder out. Yeah, that's not. Yep, there goes the cylinder. Yeah. Okay, not the best of parts, but obviously it'll do the job. I'll hopefully do the job. We'll find out later, won't we? Right. Next stage, we're gonna have to start rebuilding everything. You don't need to put out on the, obviously, the spring guide. So when we're rebuilding it, I start with a tappet plate. Just one of the easier parts to put in place. Make sure it's the right way around. That always helps, doesn't it? How did these go on again? Bear in mind, this is the second gearbox I've took apart. Oh yeah. Yeah, from top to bottom. There we go. So you put it all the way to the left and slide it into the right. There we go, that's better. Now we'll put the spring in. I just put the spring in place just so I know where it is, ready for when I put on the selector thing, which I'll put in a minute. So put it over the all that's in there, so it falls into place. Right, just block it with your finger so it doesn't move. And then put this in place. Make sure obviously the top end of this catches on the spring of the tappet plate, otherwise it's actually not going to work. So this can be a bit fiddly, so just try. Where's the screw? Where did I put the screw? Ah, that one. I screw the gear selector latch back into place. See, I actually have no idea what the proper name is. I just call it that. So get the screw in, screw it in. There we go. That's all right. Yep, that seems all right. Maybe not. The spring's not quite right. So just fiddle around with it until the spring's properly in place. There we go. Right, now let's put the trigger contacts back in place. So these go down under there's like a ledge to slide into, so put it under there. And obviously don't forget the top part of it, which I'm an idiot because it needs to go in first. So put them together first and then put it back in. Like so. So down, then push. There's some little holes that it clips into. And grab the screw, screw it back in place. Like so. There we go. Don't do it too tight because you don't want to be you don't want to thread your screws. Or defred them, whatever you call it. Or round off the top part. So just be gentle. just make sure it's tight. So let's get the spring in place. I use my hands for this because I don't want to damage it with the needle nose pliers. There we go. That's all nice and right. Yeah, so put the wires back in place. It is a bit annoying trying to get the wires. I use the needle nose pliers, close them up, and just push a little bit of pressure, not too much because you don't want to damage the wiring, to push them down into place. To hopefully help hold them in. Most of the wires, because they've been in the gearbox for a while, they're already kind of bent in shape. So you just follow the shape they're already in. Yeah, it just keeps popping out. This ain't good. Just make sure there's space for your trigger to go back in, because you don't want it, obviously, getting caught on the wires. So just fiddle around until they're back in place. That one's looking alright. And then the back area. There's the other side. This one in. Now, wires are a pain. They pop out all the time when you're trying to do stuff. It's frustrating, but perseverance and you'll get it done. So now the wires are back in place. We'll start the next bit. So let's put the trigger safety back in place. So put the back bit through first, and the actual safety catch and the spring, make sure they're right. You only line up in a certain way, so make sure obviously you're lining it up. Spring, a bit of a pain, so put the spring on. Make sure it's on up, it's catched on the top part of the metal. And make sure your latch is over the top, so the spring hooks around it, because obviously this is what the spring's for. Yeah, push it, just make sure it moves alright, and then screw it back in. Right, the spring needs to be fully over the circle bit at bottom, just make sure it's all the way around it, and you can push the top part fully down. So put the screw in place. Get it on the screwdriver, there we go. And then screw it in. There we go. That's alright. Just test it. There we are. That's fine. Yeah, that's working fine for me. And we'll put the trigger on. So put the trigger spring back in place. The trigger spring, there's an hole which it clips into, and then it goes over the knob bit that comes down, and then it should be long and flat. Put the safety up a bit, and then make sure the spring is against the metal, and then just pop it over the metal, and it should clip in place, like so. It's going to be annoying when it comes to closing because it's not staying up, but I'll sort it out later. Yeah, not going to stay in place, but it's fine. It can work. It should still work. Pull the trigger a few times to make sure everything's moving fine there. Yep, that's all good. Bloody wires are popping out again already. This is why I hate wires. Then, obviously we've already shimmed the gears, so it's a case of just putting them back in order, back into the gearbox, how we did originally. There's one. There's the next gear, get that one in. Both the shims on. So, put it in place. Yep, that's good. Same again with this one. Put the knob in at top into like the 1 o'clock position, because that needs to be there for obviously the tappet plate and everything to work. So let's get the right. I've got two anti-reversal latches. The one on the left was the original one. This one on the right is my G&G one, which I'm going to put in its place because I've swapped that with a Lonex one, so that's fine. So put the spring on. Make sure the spring's against the metal, and then looped around the anti-reversal latch. So get that in place. Hold it down with your thumb, and then make sure put that gear slowly in, put pressure on top, and then slowly release the anti-reversal latch into place, and then let go. Then yeah, that looks alright. It's not moving. It's not in the wrong place. Should be fine. Right, let's put the shims on top. Let's re-shim everything. That missed. Let's try again. Oh, that's a nightmare. So 2 shims back on top of every one, or however you've shimmed it. But they're all back in place. There we go. Now let's put this back in. So with the cylinder, you want to make sure the tappet plate, there's like 2 lines. They need to go around the trigger spring. So just keep trying until it's in place. Also, this one on the cylinder, it's got 2 holes which match the gearbox. Obviously, make sure they're in place because it don't feel quite right. That's better. That's better. Yep, pushing it. That moves all right. Turn the piston so the grooves line up with the grooves in the gearbox, because obviously that's important. You don't want them to jam. And get the spring on. Use your needle nose pliers to pull it over to the other nub that it connects to. So pull it over. It's quite tight, but you can do it. There we go. Yep, that's fine. Moves all right. No issues there. Now the wires again. Important to get the wires back now, because obviously the next step is going to be putting the spring back in, and once we've got the spring in, we want to close the gearbox up. So just try and get them wires back. These ones are not staying in place whatsoever. So what I do is I use my heavy to weigh them down. So my trusty hammer is going to go over the wires and keep them in place. So first I just need to line them all up, then get the hammer and just try to put the hammer in place to keep the wires held down. So they're on there. That's going to weigh them ones down. Now the top ones keep popping out. Right, so I'll use screwdriver. That should hopefully keep them down. There we go. That looks alright. Right, so it's going to hopefully keep them held down when I try to put the spring in place and everything. But yeah, grease the motor. Put a little bit of on top of them, because that's going to be obviously touching the gearbox as well. It's already got loads of grease on it, but it's a crappy Chinese one at the top. So get your spring guide, which has got some bearings on actually. I won't say it's a brilliant one, but it's going to do the job. Right. I'm going to put the 121 in, I believe. I don't think it's the M130. So put a little bit of pressure on the cylinder and piston. Then using the Allen key, force the spring to place. Now the spring guide has got two little knobbins which will clip into place on the gearbox. So sometimes when you've got it in, you need to twist it around until you feel it pop. Alright, there's a lot of pressure in this. You can see things are popping out everywhere. Alright, so this is going to be a nightmare. We need to move this into position until it pops in. If I let go, this starts moving out, so I need to realign the grooves with the gearbox, which is hard. I'll just keep twisting until you feel it pop properly. There we go. There's a lot of pressure in it. I can feel it wanting to pop out. So I'm going to hold that down. Grab the upper top half of the gearbox. And try to close it up. So slowly move. And then line it up. Make sure it clips. You'll hear a little bit of a pop when it's clipping in place. And no, it's not popping. Something's not quite right with it. Yeah, it don't feel right. The wires. It's the wires of the coming out of the gearbox. So I'm trying to close it. I'm going to damage the wires. So sadly, we have to open it back up and start again. So open it. Oh, so that straight away popped out. There's a lot of pressure on that. That's popping. So once again, you have to try and realign it up. Keep moving it around until the grooves sit back in place. Make sure the spring guide's still safe. Don't know if it's quite right. These bloody wires. I have to fiddle around with the wires for a bit until they're sitting where they need to sit. So I'll just keep pushing the wires in place. And that might be alright. There we go. Yeah, don't seem to be moving. Spring guide, just double check. Pressure on it all. Right, try and keep this wire flush in there so it doesn't pop out, which it is doing. So put a bit of pressure on it. Right. That's everything. Try and pop that up because obviously that's going to stop it from closing. Right, I'll have to do that in a second. So gearbox, start laying the shell down again. Bit awkward when you've obviously got to hold everything down and try and put the top on. So switch your hands, move it across. Slowly close it. No, it's not working. It's popping out. It is really difficult to close them back up. It's just it takes me a few attempts, so it's just trial and error. Obviously, if you're opening a gearbox for the first time, it is difficult. I mean, this is my second gearbox I've worked on, so I'm not like a expert. I'm just doing what I've learnt myself. I mean, there might be easier ways to do it, but this is just how I've done it for the time being. So once again, just try and get everything back into position. The piston's moved again, so you want it to make sure it's in the grooves. Just keep moving it. Oh, wire's popped, so make sure the wire's back in place. Oh, these wires. Keep trying. Yep. Move that up. Right, that's all. All seems well. That might be alright now. Let's try and get the gearbox back on. Pressure on the top. Switch your fingers. Nope, straight away. It moves. Just literally trial and error all the time. You have to keep... Like I said, there's probably easier ways to do it, but I ain't learnt them yet. So this is how I do it. Obviously, the more gearboxes I open up and put that together over time, I will learn how to do it properly. Just gonna put this wire back in place and use the hammer to keep them. It's just not wanting to stay in place. Key is still safe. Spring guide looks alright. Once again, I'm just moving everything around to just double check. Right, so I'll keep forcing it in. Keep pressure on the spring. Obviously, without much pressure on the spring, if I let go, it's going to pop out. So I do need to keep an hand on the top of it, which can be a bit of a nightmare. So let's try again. So slowly lower it. It'll clip in place. Sometimes you have to move the spring guide slowly to make it pop. Push the bottom bit in. Because obviously that's popping out, that's stopping the case from closing, so just push it back in place. Sometimes you need to use a screwdriver just to push it in. Flathead's the best one for it. Right, it's closed, but the gears are not in the right place, so just use an Allen key, bit of pressure, just slowly push them into the right position. Anti-reversal latch is completely wrong. I'm just using it to move it slowly up into position. I mean, once again, there's probably an easier way to do this. At this time, I've just done it. I always just slowly wiggle them into position until it closes. So just keep prodding them. Obviously, when you're going in the gearbox from the side like this, don't put too much pressure on. You can make things pop. Just give it a slight little nudge. I'm just wiggling it up, moving it up slowly. Keep putting pressure on the top, because obviously, as you're pushing down on the move, you'll feel it clip in place. Just keep trying. Anti-reversal latch has been a nightmare. So is this bottom gear. A little bit of pressure. Wiggle it back up a bit. Try and get it to drop in position. A little bit of pressure. That's looking alright. This anti-reversal latch is what's causing the nightmare now, I believe. Eyes look alright. This anti-reversal latch, so just come in from underneath, just a little bit of pressure, not too much. Sorry about my shadow blocking it, but can have a look around. Yeah, something stopping it. There we go. It's clipped. Popped into place. Oh, that was a nightmare. Right, so next stage is to screw it all back into place. So I always do the screw near the trigger first. Put one there. Screw that one in. Then I do the one behind it. Up near the spring guide, screw that one in, just to keep pressure around them areas, because there's a lot of things that can pop out. So screw that one in. And the one at the other side of the front end of the trigger, just put that one in place. Screw that one in. Then from there on end, it doesn't matter which order you do them in, just start screwing them all back into position. Like so. Make sure that's still moving. And there we have it, just start screwing the rest in place. And the next stage will be rebuilding the gun. Bring it all back together for the final piece. Right, so that's really it for this one. Until I start rebuilding it all back. So bear with me. We'll get on it. So screw the last screw in. And make sure they're nice and tight. Right, flip it over. Tap it, plate moves. So let's put them back in. So put the back wire through first, through the little hole. Pull it through. Watch for the fuse. There we go. Drop these wires through the hole for the handle. Yeah. Pull them through. Drop it in nicely. There you go. That's in. Now, just move the selector gear and then pull trigger on each one just to make sure it's actually moving freely, nothing's jamming. You don't want to get to the end and have to go back and redo all that. So next, put the handle back in place. So put your wires through the holes in the handle. And then move it back into position. Wiggle it up. Now you're probably not going to be able to see me do this bit, but I'm going to have to put the screws back in position at the bottom. It's going to be a bit hard, so let's get it in. Now when doing these, don't screw it too, just make sure it's tight enough. The issue I had with my last gun is I was screwing it back in and I did it a bit too tight and I ended up rounding off the screw at the top, which obviously is not what you want with a gun. There we go, put the next one in, screw it on. Nicely, there we go. Yep, that feels tight. Now drop the motor in place. Make sure, obviously, black's at top, red's at bottom. Drop it back in. Oh, no, nope, getting caught on the wires. Let's try again. The wiring is always an issue when you're trying to put it back in place. It's a case of just keep moving the wires around because you want it to drop into the gears. You don't want it to get stuck on the wires. So just keep. Nope, that's not working. Oh, the red wire's in the wrong place. Just move that across. Right, just push them across the bottom. Try and drop it back in. It's really a pain in the butt trying to get the motor back in when the wire's not playing. Oh god, that red wire's in the way again. No, it's not moving. Try again. There we go, it's in place. So reconnect the terminals. I just call them terminals, not sure what they are. So black one in, and then push the red one on. There we go. Make sure that the push down well. Just give it a little bit of pressure. There we go. It's all good. It's working. Yep, that seems alright. So put the bottom part thing on. Clip it in. Make sure your wire's not getting caught. Screw it back into position. Like so. Yep, that's alright. Next one. Turn it. Get in position, screw it in. So once again, make sure you don't do it too tight. You don't want to round the screws off. Right. Get the... Right, so turn it 3 times, that's how many we turned it earlier. So that should be in position now. Right, now connect to battery and do a test fire. So battery connected. And safety works. Semi. Yeah, it's firing. That seems alright. Then auto. Yeah, that should be alright. Air's coming out, that's good. Can smell something, but it's normal, so it's alright. Disconnect your battery. There we go. Let's continue putting it back together because we know it's working. So let's just put it back together how we took it apart. So let's put the small little pin in. I believe it's this way around. Just make sure it's the right way around. There you go. Push it in. Pressure. Yeah, it's fine. A little bit of pressure on top of it. Make sure it's nice and flush. It's not quite as flush as I'd like it. An Allen key just to push it through a bit more. Yeah, that's alright. It's better. Back screw. Push that in. This is a bit tight, so you've got to wiggle. I think it's this one instead. Oh, that's definitely not. Oh, it's this one. Right, so when you're putting in, you've got to wiggle it in. You've got to move the gearbox slightly so it goes through properly because the holes are not quite aligned. So just move it around. Yeah, just move it until it's in. Just wiggle. Right. Trusty hammer. Tap it in. There we go. They were too stiff. Obviously, don't hit it too hard with the hammer. You don't want to break it. So put these ones back in. Put that one out of the way because I don't need that for time being. One game, please. 3mm, sorry, 3mm, get a 3mm one. And tighten it back up. Like so. Get the screwdriver, make sure it's tight, but not obviously too tight. You don't want to get it stuck, so you can't open it back up at a later date if you ever need to get back inside it. There we go, that's nice and tight, it's all lined up. I don't need this one yet, because this one goes in when I put obviously the upper receiver on. So this bit, right, push, obviously put it all through, put the spring in place. Use your finger at the back to push it away through to make sure it's quite far up, because obviously you're going to need to screw the release button into place. So make sure it's nice, got a bit of pressure, grip it with both like thumb and finger back, and start screwing in place. That seems to be working, that's good. Screw it so it's nice and tight. There we go. Then obviously press the button a few times, make sure it moves. Yeah, that feels good. Yeah, that's alright. Tighten it up a little bit more, just a little bit too loose, but there we go. Now put this in place, which I don't know the name of. Not sure what it is, but I know it goes there, so put it back. Make sure it's sat properly. There we go. And then put the upper receiver in place. So slide it on. It's stuck. Oh, that's op-it unit. Move the op-it unit so it's straight. Push in. Boom. Locked in place. Get the final pin. Push it through. There we go. Put the screw in. And tighten it up. There we go, that's better. Make sure it's nice and tight, because you don't want it coming loose. There we go. Right, just make sure that this one's tight on this side, so I'm flattered, because I know it's a thin one, don't quite fit. No, that's not going to turn at all. That's tight as it'll go, so that's alright. Just double check this side, make sure it's nice and tight. Yeah, it's not going to go any further, so that's good. Put that back. Right. So, I'm going to have to put the butt back on next. Get the wires out of the way. Put it down. Put the ring on. Is that right way? Oh, that's better. Put it the right way. That's always good. And drop the butt in. Put the wires through the butt. Or stock, but I like to call it butt. And then, oh, put it the right way. That'll help. And slide it on. There we go. And put this on. Right, so screw bottom one in first. Obviously, put your sling mount back in position. Screw it on. Move your sling mount around slightly so you feel it screwing in, because if obviously it's not the right place, it's not going to screw your sling mount back in. But there we go, that's done. Right, obviously drop your long one in. Make sure your long one goes through the metal tube inside the butt. So if you open up the battery compartment, you can have a look inside and make sure it drops in the right place, and then obviously tighten it up like so. That's good. And obviously just feel it and make sure it all feels sturdy. Yep, that feels good. That's nice and tight. Well done. That's it. Oh, catch it a bit loose. But there we go. Job's a good one. That's the SR25 taken apart, put back together with an upgraded spring. Thanks.